Titus O'Neil speaks to TMZ.
Let's talk more about breasts. Who cares about Titus O'Neil?
Well, what he said was basically a big old titty slap. He says, "I feel safer in Saudi Arabia than I do in a lot of places in the United States." Jeremy, have you heard
Okay,
this
okay,
thought
hold on, hold on, hold on.
recently? Okay, you want to give the full
I want to
the
give some
full
context at the very least.
Well, I
So
can just read
Titus,
the whole quote.
well, the quote's very long. No one needs to read the whole quote. Uh, Titus was talking to TMZ, and they asked him about WrestleMania going to Saudi and everything. And yeah, Titus said, "I feel safer in Saudi Arabia than I do in WWE." So Titus has been to Saudi plenty of times. He was in famously the Greatest Royal Rumble when he tripped and nearly lost lost his limbs going underneath the ring there. Fortunately, that wasn't as bad as it maybe could have been. But he said, "I feel safer in Saudi Arabia than I do in most places or a lot of places in the United States." In the US, when you have the mindset of we're the greatest country in the world, and we are a great country, but people don't move to the US because we're the greatest country. They move because we have the greatest amount of opportunity. The biggest difference between places overseas and the US are morals and convictions. They actually live by theirs, whether you like them or not. They're going to pray 5 times a day. They're going to stop, and whether anyone likes it or doesn't. You don't hear about mass shootings in Saudi, China, Japan. If people had a chance to go to Saudi, their views would change dramatically. I'm not saying they get it all right, but we don't get it all right either. For us to go out of Saudi, when I went there the first time, people had all these negative things to say, and there were a whole lot of scare tactics. In my hotel room, it's 1 a.m, and I see kids running around the beach. Kids. I get up the next morning, ask my driver, "Are you guys not worried about some of these kids getting sexually assaulted or beaten or brutalized or kidnapped?" And they said no, because it's an automatic death sentence. Kids are safe over there while kids are not safe in the United States. And then he gives the lines of it's business, we're changing the culture, you got to go there to be part of the change. Women couldn't do anything when we first went over there. Now women can do plenty. And he did have good points of like there's in America, somebody talks about race. That was so long ago. Well, no, it was, a few decades ago, and still the present. We still have systematic issues with racism. Like, yeah,
Yes.
I don't disagree with that. So he was a little. He made points that I agree with, and then he made points I didn't
You know what
fully
points?
agree
You know
with.
what points he gave you? He gave the points that were given to him by the Saudi Sports Authority, because those are the exact same talking points. Go back to the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Anyone who was part of that gave the exact same lines. They were all given the exact same talking points. Do not fall for this horseshit. You're going to see a lot of people who are going to Saudi Arabia for any sort of sports or entertainment watching purposes giving you the same line, and it's always going to be just for the dismantling of the West, the same friggin' line. Listen, yeah, the States, y'all are messed up. Do not get me wrong. There are plenty of issues. But what's going on over there, you want to know why you don't hear about all the things that Titus O'Neil is talking about? It's because they don't get reported, because they kill the reporters. They jail the reporters. Anytime you speak out against anything that's happening in the country related to what's going to who's in charge of the country, you get thrown in jail, or at worst, you're murdered. So what is this horseshit assuming that this is, oh, it's a democracy? Is it? No, it's not. It's a monarchy. What do you stop letting them give this straight up propaganda piece answers? And I hope, and I wish, I know it's not going to happen. I wish that more people would push back when they ask, be like, do you know, like, I wish they come with the journalism to come and explain why those answers are wrong. Why do you not hear about it in China? Because the shit still happens in China, but they have state-run television that also doesn't talk about it. Like, what you wanted to hear why you don't talk about it in Japan? In Japan, you got to. No, we're not going to hear anyway. The companies that run the stations will often come around to soliciting money so that you can actually keep watching the stations. It's not state-run. It's a little bit different. Someone who's in Japan or Japanese can explain it better. But effectively, like, there is control on their stations as well for the most part. It just absolutely boggles my mind that there are people who are okay with just letting them give these answers and letting them get away with it, because it's very clearly propaganda. It's very clearly bullshit. And there's no reason to be allowed to say this. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Joel kind of cooking right there. Gotta say, I respect it. I respect it.
I've been
I
watching it for too long, and like, listen, man, I have my gripes about other things going on in countries that I'm closer to for one reason or another, and I have my feelings about that on all sides. So yeah, listen, I take it on Saudi because I've been watching this shit unfold since 2018 in WWE, and I'm watching now comedians try to justify it, and I'm watching them get into every single sports authority they can. They're getting their money in and they're getting their influence in, and that's not okay.
Hey, let me clarify my stance on things before people start yelling at me. When I said there's some stuff I agree with, some stuff I don't agree with. I agree with America is also screwed up. We got a lot of issues here. I agree with there is still racism in America, and that hasn't really gotten better, and it starts at the top when it comes to that. I agree with those things when it comes to what Titus has to say. I agree that he feels safer in Saudi than he does in America. That's his opinion. I'm not going to take that away from him. Now, I don't agree with the overall just let's boost up Saudi Arabia and act like it is this great country just because they're paying us millions of dollars and we are going over there. No, we know the real reason all of this is happening. We know what the deal is here, but a lot of people don't know. They just see, oh, Titus says good things. This person says good things. That person says it can't be that bad if all these people are doing all of these things. It can't be that bad, right? No, it is. Yeah, these people get treated very well because they're like celebrities and they're getting paid a lot of money to be treated very well. But regular people who live over there and who don't and who have to deal with this stuff all day, they do not get treated as well. Journalists certainly don't get treated as well. I talked about this before during the boxing event, Canelo and Crawford, and how Saudi was basically trying to, because they were part of that event, they were trying to wash any criticism of the event in boxing and in the journalists like covering it. Like if you said something bad, they would have you pull that down or they would not credential you. And that's not how things are supposed to be run around these things. And we talked about it with the comedians. Like, oh yeah, the comedians, they think it's all great. Yeah, because they're getting paid a bunch of money to say all of these things. But if they actually had to live there, they weren't getting paid all this money, or they did have a criticism, it would be a much different story. And that's how it is when it comes to WWE and all the nice things that they say. I like Titus O'Neil. I have done an interview with Titus O'Neil. Very nice guy. I think he's clearly a charitable person with everything that he does. I got a lot of respect for him. But we know the deal here. We do. And this is, get ready to listen to this answer a lot, because WWE wrestlers are obviously going to be asked about it over the next year or so, because WWE's going to Saudi with WrestleMania. And because it's WrestleMania, it's not just like, oh, here's Crown Jewel or whatever. It's going to be a bigger deal than usual. And so wrestlers are going to have to answer these questions. And you're going to hear this answer a lot. You've already heard it. Tiffany Stratton has given this answer. Triple H, Bianca Belair, all these people have given this answer already. And they're going to continue to give it because nobody wants to say anything bad because they're partners with them and other consequences. And so they're going to give the same line of, we want to elicit change. You can't change anything unless you actually go over there. We're treated great over there. Everything is fantastic when we're over there. They love us over there. We've never had an issue. Look at everything that's wrong in this country. It's like, okay, we get it, guys. We get it.
You know what I love about it? It's called whataboutism. It's the same shit that we tell people when it's, you all know, we don't have to talk about whataboutism on this program because you people are very intelligent.
You people? Why are you cutting a you people promo, Joel?
our listenership, our viewership, you're knowledgeable. We give each other slack here. We give each other shit, but it's you guys understand it. And then again, for these athletes to go on and be like, oh, I've never had a problem in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, because you've got guards taking you everywhere up the wazoo. Everything is checked for you ahead of time. You're on a trip. You are on a trip that is very well secured. Here's a good example, and I see that I see SV3 is here, so I don't know if he wants to jump in on this conversation. However, I'll make my point. I went. This is now it's going to be controversial. I went to Israel when I got married. Okay, in 2019. Um, my wife and I went because it's a free trip. Honestly, that is what it was. We had gotten married. She had never been. I hadn't been since I was 16. Here's the real reason we went: free honeymoon with like 38 other people. However, you get your own room at every place you stop at. So every hotel, instead of having a room with random people you don't know, my wife and I got to live together. Anyway, so the point of this was we went knowing the things we know about Israel and the feelings we have about Israel. Again, I'm Jewish. I say this very often. I'm very proudly Jewish. I do not support a lot of what's going on there right now. I've made my feelings clear about this. We went at the time because we wanted to experience what was in the country and what we wanted to see. Now, Birthright is very good at telling you all the things that they want you to know from a governmental standpoint about Israel, from a historical standpoint, from everything. And they would prefer you don't ask too many questions, but you're allowed to ask questions. My wife and I are educated people. We do ask questions. We were on a trip of older people as well. So as a result, we got to ask questions. However, at the end of the day, this program exists to be incredibly secure, that you don't know the measures to which they are going to ensure that nothing bad is happening where you're headed or where you're coming from. That's what they're dealing with when they're going to Saudi Arabia. Now, it seems absolutely asinine that I'm making a direct connection, but I'm making the point that all these athletes going there saying, oh, it's so safe, it's so safe. That's because they're on a guided trip where the security is always on them and always ahead of them, to the point where you don't know. You are in your own world. You're secluded. You are there to just experience what we want you to experience in this bubble. Same thing with Birthright. Same thing with WWE or any of these sports companies going over and doing events. It's not different from home, because home, you live there. You don't get security unless you pay for security. You don't get that added security. You just have your life. This is a vacation when Titus and crew go over there. They're on vacation, 5-star restaurant, 5-star hotel, 5-star everything, 5-star security guards. They're treated like royalty because they are paid to be there by the royalty. Y'all got to remember that next time you hear any of these athletes that many people put on pedestals saying, oh, we love going to this country. They treat us so perfectly. Meanwhile, there's a jail wing allegedly named after the Crown Prince and any of his dissenters. Keep that in mind next round. Anyway.